Hey everyone, it's Erik Thor here, and in today's video we will be talking about why gatekeeping is so common among INFJs, why so many INFJs feel misunderstood, and the terrible paradox that is known as self-awareness. The truth is, most INFJ YouTubers online have had strong discussions about their own personality type. Most INFJs have been discussed on public forums, and most INFJs have been accused of being another personality type, masquerading as an INFJ for the desire to act unique or popular or to get views, right? So gatekeeping is a common phenomenon amongst INFJs, and it's important to recognize why these things happen and why this is such a common trend online. If you look at the INFJ empath personality type, INFJs tend to be people who are highly introverted, highly intuitive, strong in feeling, and strong in judgment, right? And because they are introverted and because they are intuitive, many INFJs tend to struggle with this concept laid out by Albert Camus in The Stranger, this feeling of estrangement from the world, this feeling of being different, this feeling of being an outsider looking in. INFJs tend to, because they spend so much time in their own inner world, thinking about their own ideas and imagining and daydreaming and going into themselves, they tend to feel that they are somehow separate from the outer world, that they're not like everyone else. And they don't know what's happening around them. They don't know who's around them. They don't really know what's going on in the outside world to the same extent that, say, an ESFP or an ESTP might. Beyond that, INFJs tend to score very strongly in introversion and feeling. And because they are and spend a lot of time by themselves, and because they are very focused on the emotional world, they tend to, like INFPs, have this problem of still waters running deep. They tend to keep a lot of their own experiences and innermost feelings to themselves and find it hard to open up and talk to other people about how they feel and what they want out of life. INFJs can therefore end up in a situation where other people feel connected to them, but they don't feel connected to other people. INFJs also tend to show strong conscientiousness, strong judgment, and because they are strongly feeling and strongly judging, they might show a stoic demeanor to the outer world. They show a polished surface. They seem nice, they seem normal to other people, to outside onlookers, but often their outside surface is highly polished, like it is in an ENFJ. And so they might not share everything that they are really experiencing inside with others, and how they show themselves to other people. Often they cover up and they make things look better or more socially acceptable than what they really are. And perhaps most importantly, INFJs tend to show strong intuition and strong judgment, and this combination of traits tend to lead INFJs to often feel like lone wolves, right? Which means that they often feel like they have to cut off other people in order to make their own path in life. Like a lone wolf, they can be and show some maladaptive behavior, which is like, instead of adjusting and adapting to your environment in the way an ESFP or an ESTP might, they focus on what they want and where they want to go in life, and they can sometimes perceive other people as some kind of a distraction, some kind of thing that keeps them from pursuing their own intuitive dream path, dream life. So when INFJs go online and they take a personality test, they hear that they're INFJs and they're the 1%, the rarest personality type of them all. And this verifies many of the things that INFJs struggle with. Suddenly they understand why they feel so misunderstood, because there's nobody else like them out there, because there are so few people like them out there. But at the same time, 1%, that's more than 100 million people. So that's quite a lot of people, isn't it, right? And that can cause a lot of problems when you go online as an INFJ, because what you're hoping for is to meet people who share your own unique innermost thoughts, right? All those thoughts, all those feelings, all those ideas, all those experiences that you've been creating inside of yourself. And you're hoping that other people will have those thoughts, will feel that way, will share those experiences. But then when you go and talk to INFJs, and when you listen to INFJs online on YouTube, you can end up feeling more misunderstood, because most of these INFJs, they're different than what you are. They're perhaps more outgoing, they seem more successful, they seem more happy, they seem more content, they seem to be somehow different than what you are, or perhaps their ideas or thoughts ring more shallow to you than what your thoughts feel like, or perhaps their feelings seem less complicated than your feelings. And so the truth is, it's understandable why so many INFJs will say you're not a real INFJ and you're not like me. And that's something that happens very commonly when people try to empathize with each other. So imagine you're sharing your life story, you're talking about something very complicated that happened to you, a trauma that you had, something that's really important to you, and somebody else says, oh, I have that too. But then they say something different, something that you haven't experienced, something that you don't relate with. Often this can end up making you feel more misunderstood than what you were in the first place. And so there can be a desire to correct people and say, no, you're not really an INFJ, because a real INFJ wouldn't experience that, and real INFJ wouldn't have that, wouldn't feel that, wouldn't do that. And what I'm experiencing is different than what you are experiencing. And you don't really understand me for who I am. Many philosophers talk about this, the terrible paradox of self-awareness, right? And that's, the more time you spend looking inside and reflecting on your own experiences, the more different you tend to feel from other people. Time spent alone in contemplation, time spent reflecting on your innermost thoughts and experiences, all that time just makes you feel more and more isolated, more and more alienated, more and more estranged from what's happening around you, because the outside world becomes more and more blurred out, gray, and less colorful. So what can you do when you're stuck in that spiral of you wanting to connect with other people, wanting to form meaningful relationships, wanting to have depth, wanting to have intimacy, wanting to have vulnerability, wanting to meet that ideal partner that matches with your expectations, meeting that person that shares in and respects your own intuitive journey and allows you to fully walk towards your own vision in life, right? Well, the truth is, all that time you spent by yourself has been pretty important, because it's taught you a lot about yourself, right? And it's taught you about how important your feelings are and how important it is to respect yourself and your own ideas and to stay true to who you are. And that means you're going to have an easier time connecting with other people once you start making the effort, because you will be able to more easily understand who the real you is and what it is that you want to share with the outer world. The only thing you have to work on from this point on is the process of integration, right? Which means learning to connect your intuition and your feeling to the outside world, which means learning to translate your ideas to practical actions and activities that you do in your day-to-day life. How can you manifest your intuition in your hobbies and in your activities, in cooking and cleaning and all the mundane experiences of the real world? How can you translate what it is you're thinking inside, all that complexity, to thoughts and words that you can express and share with other people, right? And this is a step and trial and error, right? So you have to let yourself take this process step by step. And some tips to make it more easily is to, for example, when you engage with other people, allow yourself to talk more slowly, to weigh your words more carefully, and to make sure that you're saying the right thing. Allow yourself to be quiet and introspective and to switch in and out. Allow yourself to, when you're at a party, to find the most quiet spot at that room or in that place, and to sit down with one or two people who you feel an intuitive connection with. Allow yourself to be particular and selective and to filter out and to focus on what you want. Slow down so that the outside world becomes more manageable and so that you don't become overstimulated or overwhelmed. And when dealing with other people, remember that we are all unique. INFJ is just a label. It's just a personality pattern, a pattern among 6-8 billion people. And so what you're seeing is a lot of variety, right? We're a spectrum. And so allow yourself to go more into nuance. You're not just an INFJ, you're a particular kind of an INFJ. You're a particular person with your own unique experiences. And so is every single INFJ that you meet. You spent a lot of time by yourself, and you've learned a lot about yourself. And also, you've learned a lot about how complex and how different you are. Now, mirror that statement and realize that every single person out there is the exact same way. Every single person you meet, while they can appear shallow and superficial, carries within them their own inner depth, right? Which means every single person you meet is fascinating, has this hidden world that might even be hidden to themselves. And so, if you engage with other people, you're going to learn a lot of things about other people. And because we share a single common human ancestry, right? Because we're all human beings, we actually have a lot more in common than we might think. Even if we've adapted to act differently, learn to behave differently, learn to do things differently, we can, if we try, actually understand one another If we sit down and talk and share first what we feel and what we experience, and then create a space for the other person to share what they feel and what they experience, we can probably, once we start unpacking and unraveling that experience, understand what experiences, what events led this person to that place, and how we, in their shoes, if we did the same thing, might have acted and might have developed to be similar to them. And that's why if you meet another person that says they're an INFJ, and if you find that they're somehow different to you, take that opportunity to go and become a little bit more fascinated. How can this person come to see themselves as an INFJ? Why do they feel that they share these traits? And what experiences do they have that they associate with being an INFJ? The truth is, these associations, these experiences, the values that they've assigned to being an INFJ might be different than the values that you assign to this label. But it's still fascinating that they, just like you, ended up with the same personality type that you did. And it's an interesting journey to understand what led them there and what experiences put them in that place. Remember, just like the sorting hat in Harry Potter allowed people to choose their own house, we need to allow other people to choose their own type. Allow other people to choose their own journey, choose who they want to be, choose which type that they want to most closely examine and fit themselves with. If a Slytherin takes the sorting hat on and says they want to be a Hufflepuff, they do that for a reason. Perhaps there's something about that type or about that experience that they want to experience in themselves, a journey that they want to go on, something they want to experience through saying that. And we need to be patient, and we need to allow other people to choose their own journey and to find their own way. To tell another person that, no, you don't get to choose who you are, you don't get to type yourself, you don't get to decide your own path in your life. To say that, no, you should choose this path, or you should go there, you should be that. That can be an invalidation of other people's experiences, and that might further the feeling in other people of being misunderstood. The feeling that you struggled with for so long, you might be putting on to other people too. I remember when I was a kid, I felt so different from other people. I would always sit alone in the school garden reading books. I didn't really have anyone I felt a strong connection with until I went online. When I went online, I met friends from across the world, people that seemed to understand me, people that seemed to like me, people that seemed to see me for who I am. And that was such an addictive and amazing experience, right? And that became, for me, like one of the most important things, to find my own pack, to be a wolf among a small group of wolves. The only misfits, the people that feel different, the people that are the same, and the people that feel a strong connection in a world where everyone else is the same, right? But the older I got, the more I started feeling like this was a trap. By searching for people that were just like me, I was validating other people who were different from me. And I also came to some point when I was like around 18 and I had met a lot of people like me, then I realized that, hey, actually, these people are not that special. They're just as boring as I am. And so I found myself feeling like, hey, maybe I should go and meet other people that are different to me and to understand what choices and what actions and what decisions led them there. And I think that's when my self-discovery path really started. I think of, in my past relationship, in a way, I was dating in some ways my own opposite. And in many ways, we were so different in how we communicated, in how we acted, in how we were. And I realized that, somehow, by being around my opposite, I become more self-aware and I realize more about myself, and I'm allowed to be more myself than when I'm with people who are like me. Not that I don't like being around people that are like me. I completely enjoy that too, and it's an amazing experience in itself. But I did notice that sometimes when we're around people that are different to us, we're allowed to bring out parts of ourselves. We're allowed to express different parts of ourselves. And by seeing the contrast between the two of us, we also learn more about ourselves. But that's just what I think. What do you think about this topic? And what would you like to do today to connect more with other people? And what small things do you think you could do differently in social settings in order to reveal yourself more, to be more open, to be more vulnerable, and to connect with other people in a way that feels comfortable for you? Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.